welcome to another Pixar review. Today I'm going to be reviewing 2004's The Incredibles. Sorry, the music is just so catchy. So, The Incredibles, released in 2004, directed by Brad Bird. So, the basic plot, well, not really basic plot, the plot of The Incredibles is that, it's going to take a while to explain to you, bear with me. It begins 15 years prior to the main events of the film. Mr. Incredible is a superhero saving the world. He is on his way to get married to Elastigirl when he has to help some people. He has to help an old woman with get her cat, then he goes undercover to save a man from committing suicide, and then he runs into a arch villain, a Bon Voyage, but he is intercepted by a young fan of his known as Buddy, who completely idolises him and wants to work with him, but Mr. Incredible refuses. He says, no, I work alone, blah blah blah. And then Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible get married, and then through a news montage we see that Mr. Incredible was sued for saving the man who wanted to commit suicide. He didn't want to be saved, he wanted to kill himself for some reason. This all leads to the entire band of superheroes being excommunicated from the world. They get banished to exile, essentially, as penance for Mr. Incredible's actions. So basically, they will just live. They wouldn't be charged for Mr. Incredible to say being charged for their actions. They'll just say, if you just leave us alone and coexist harmoniously, we won't press charges. And that's what happens. And then we forward 15 years in the future. Mr. Incredible is married, he has a family, he has 3 kids, he's put on a bit more weight, and he works for this insurance company that deals with sort of compensation, and he hates his job, hates his life, completely undervalues what he has. He's just depressed, he's just fed up with his life. His kids are causing a muck, and he just wants to go back to the glory days, to when he was a normal superhero again. So him and his friend Lucius, who have been sneaking off, trying to save people, they save people from a burning building, and then Mr. Incredible gets fired from his job, and then he receives a message on this sort of tablet thing, saying that, from this woman Mirage, who offers him triple his current work salary, and to track down this big Omnidroid thing, which is on this island called No Madison Island. So Mr. Incredible lies to his family. He says, okay, the company are sending me to a conference, so he lies, and he heads off to relive his glory days and become a superhero again. But, however, he is captured and subdued by his old fan, Buddy, who has now become the arch-evil villain Syndrome. He's become a billionaire, he's invented a lot of new gadgets, and he plans to terminate Mr. Incredible and his family, so his wife and kids, with the kids who sneak on board, head to No Madison Island to rescue Mr. Incredible and stop Syndrome from launching the rocket that will launch another Omnidroid to America, well, is it New York? Yeah, to the city, to cause destruction, where Syndrome will pose as the next big hero, but obviously the Omnidroid goes out of control, and then the family have to band together and save the Earth from Syndrome's creations. Whew, that took a lot of explaining. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's pretty much the plot of The Incredibles. So, The Incredibles. This is a fantastic film. It is a very good film. It is really well done. I have to say, I mean, ever since I first saw it, I was really hooked by it. It is just wonderful. It's not the deepest Pixar film in the world, but it's definitely one of the most fun. And I think that's very true. I mean, I wouldn't say it's quite a masterpiece, simply because it doesn't go as far in terms of the themes that Pixar have dealt with over their films. It doesn't really go as far. It has a nice message about family and appreciating what you've got, before it's about to be lost. So that I can appreciate, but it's more of an adventure film, and I think that works fine. A superhero slash adventure film, and it's about a family, and that's what I like. I like they've given it a real, they've given it the family aspect of it, which I think is ultimately the best choice they could have made. I just think the story is really well done. I just really like the story. It's really well thought out. All of the legal stuff to do with Mr. Incredible being sued in the beginning, that's dealt with really quickly. I breezed over that when I was younger, but now I get it completely, and it's very interesting. It's interesting how the film opens 15 years before the main events, and I think that's nice that they do that, like a prologue. It pretty much sets in stone everything you want to know. The only thing I didn't understand was whatever actually happened to Bon Voyage. Did they ever catch him, or did he die? Or we could have had a bit of explanation into that, perhaps. Maybe he could have been arrested at some point, but yeah, I think it's a wonderfully made film, and I think the story is excellent. And Buddy as the villain, Syndrome, the way he becomes the villain is quite interesting. The way he idolizes Mr. Incredible, but then he completely despises him when Mr. Incredible says, "Oh, I work alone." And Mr. Incredible goes through quite a big change. I mean, he is the main character of the film. Really, he is. I mean, he goes through a massive change. He completely, I mean, like I said, when he completely undervalues what he has in his family, and he's just depressed the whole time, and he just wants to go back to the glory days. And I like his emotional journey. He comes around in a full circle. He gets to have the best of both worlds. He gets to have his family, and he gets to become a superhero again. He gets to rediscover the joy, the thrill of being a superhero. And I liked that he missed the thrill of that. That was such a good storyline. And his friend Lucius does confront him about it, who is voiced by Samuel L. Jackson. He says, why don't we just go bowling instead? Why don't we just be normal for once? And why do we have to keep doing this? But it's not because he wants to save everybody, which was partly that, but it's more the glory, the thrill of it, and that's ultimately what happens. And then when Mirage offers him the opportunity to do that again, he's not going to turn it down. And as well, he gets more pay than he ever had with his job. To an extent, you could say there's a certain amount of filler at the beginning with Mr. Incredible's job. We do probably spend a bit too much time there, although all the stuff that is there is vitally important because it all leads to Mr. Incredible losing his job and everything. Interestingly enough, his boss, Gilbert Hupf, is voiced by Wallace Shawn, who voices Rex in the Toy Story trilogy. So yeah, all of these actors returning. And the film's brilliant. I think it's really, really good fun as well. It's there's a great action piece as well. There's some great action scenes. It's brilliantly animated. I mean, this is 2004. It still holds up today. It's really well rendered, I think, as well. This film. It is a 2-hour-long film, but I think it's fine. Unlike Cars, it actually does something. There's actually a lot going on in this film, and that's what I've always liked about it. It never loses its momentum. Cars was a 2-hour drag of Lightning McQueen fixing a road. That was it. This is much more. There's much more that happens in this, and yeah, I like Mrs. Incredible, Elastigirl, whatever you want to call her. Helen. We'll call her Helen. Helen's good. She's very good. I think at times she can be a bit stubborn, but she is a very understanding person, and eventually comes to terms with his, depressive state, so to speak. And she's a good mother to the kids, and it's nice to see the family sort of. They all have good chemistry. You believe they're a family, and the kids, Dash and Violet are good characters. Typical sort of sibling rivalry. They don't really get on at first, but after a while, they kind of accept each other and sort of team up and work together to stop the bad guys. It's they're not really focused on as much. They're just supporting characters, but they're still good. I mean, the sibling rivalry. I don't know about that, but yeah. And then there's the baby, Jack, who doesn't really do much until the very end of the film, when you discover he actually does have powers. He's not just the baby, he does actually have powers. He can turn himself into anything, any kind of anything. There's actually a short film on the DVD and Blu-ray which is called Jack Jack Attack, which explains everything that happened whilst the family were away on the island. When Corey, the babysitter, comes in to look after Jack Jack, you see everything that she does and why she had all those freak phone calls. It explains how Syndrome also found Jack Jack as well. So it's a really funny short film actually. And then at the very end, Corey's memory is erased. That's an interesting little short film, but I'm kind of glad they left it out of the cut because it wouldn't have been necessary, to be honest. But it makes sense. It helps the film make more sense, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I think the action sequences are brilliant. Like the fights with the Omnidroid things are, and they're massive things, and that's all very spectacular. The climax I especially love in the big city when they're trying to take down the second Omnidroid. That's great. The music by Michael Giacchino is fantastic. I love the whole look of the Madison Island, Syndrome's Island. I think it looks absolutely brilliant. And what I've always appreciated about The Incredibles is the scope. It has a huge scope, and that's very good to see. And it's something really wonderful. It's always been a great thing to look at. I've also appreciated that as well with the game. I've actually got the video game of The Incredibles for the PS2. I've had that for a long time now. It's a bloody hard game, but it's a really fun game. You get to see every aspect of that island as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, also Mirage as a character. I think she's very good. You're not quite sure where she is at first. You kind of think, oh, she's up to something, and you're not really sure how to take her. But I think as the film goes on, she grows to sort of care for Mr. Incredible. I don't know. I wouldn't go so far as to say there's an attraction there, but she definitely cares for him and his family. After she sees the pure evil of Syndrome, and when there's that scene when she says to him, next time you gamble, bet your own life. When she's just had enough of his antics, and I think that's very good to see. I wonder if she'll return for the sequel. You never know. Jason Lee voices Syndrome, or Buddy. He's good. I like the beginning. He's able to sound like he is a lot younger, and then as we see him return, when we find out he's a lot older, he's able to change his voice very, very well. So that was he was a great choice, I think. He was a great choice. But yeah, he dies at the end. His death is very explosive, as Edna Mode says, "Knockouts." And of course, how could I pass this review without mentioning Edna Mode? Oh god. Edna Mode is hilarious. I mean, voiced by Brad Bird, the director, funnily enough. I love Edna Mode. The scenes with Edna are just brilliant when, she's talking to Mrs. Incredible about the new suits. Machine Marshable, darling, that's a new feature. Like, darling. I love the way she's just so wonderfully camp. It's great, the darling. It's a particular favourite character of mine. I really hope that they bring her back for the sequel, because they've confirmed now that finally they're making a sequel to this film. It's been way too long. If there's any Pixar movies that really deserve a sequel, it's this one. I mean, this one ended on a cliffhanger, and Edna Mode deserves to be back for Incredibles 2, which will be out in about 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. So we've got another 3 years to wait, but hey ho, it better be worth it. Yeah, also speaking of the end of the film, we end with this cameo, the Underminer. I know there was a video game made as a sort of sequel, because no film was set in stone until now, obviously. But we've got the Underminer at the end, voiced by John Ratzenberger. That's his little cameo. It's a good cliffhanger ending, as long as they actually address it in the sequel. I really hope the opening of the second one at least shows us some of that and how that was resolved, because if they're going to keep the Underminer for the entire sequel, then hopefully Pixar will do right by it. But yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic with the family. I think that obviously it's a typical sort of dysfunctional family. They don't really know they're not really happy with their place at the moment. And then they all come together at the end. I think that's fantastic. It's a really great dynamic to see, and you know, Mr. Incredible realizes how valuable they all really are. In the end, sorry, I got a message again. To be honest, The Incredibles has always been a great one. It's always been a favourite of mine. I don't think it's a masterpiece, simply because like I said, the themes aren't expressed as deeply as some of the other films, but this film is still a huge amount of fun. Great antagonist, great protagonist, great story. I think the story is fantastically done. It's quite long, it's 2 hours long, but like I said, it moves at a fantastic pace. There's so much that happens, it never feels too long or too slow like Cars did. Oh god, and that was to be the film after this, so that really sagged Pixar down to a right low until Wall-E came out. Yay. But The Incredibles is a great movie. It's great fun, beautifully animated. I think the end credit sequence is quite good as well. I hope that they bring Michael Giacchino back for the music score, because that score is bloody fantastic. It has a kind of jazzy feel to it, but it feels like a really fitting score for this you know, this story, The Incredibles. I mean, there's a really intense scene also as well on the plane when the missiles are coming after them, and then Helen's trying to tell Violet to put a force field around the outside of the plane, but obviously she can't do it because she's not experienced with her powers, and that sequence alone is just really intense. You don't know what's going to happen there. It's a great film. I mean, there's a marginal elements of filler at the start, but you can get through it. It's not anything that makes you go, oh, why is this movie so long? It's long, but you're like, okay, maybe it was a bit, some of it was padded, it's padding, but it was necessary padding, I think. But the film could have survived without some of it, but hey-ho. So, overall, The Incredibles, I don't have much to say about it. With regards to the sequel, I just hope it's good, or at least somewhere along the lines of this. I mean, because, you know, and I hope it follows that cliffhanger ending. I don't want it to just forget about that, because otherwise that would be really silly. I just hope the sequel can deliver us something as epic as this, because this is an epic film, and it's a great one. So, overall, I'm going to give The Incredibles a 9 out of 10. Doesn't quite reach a 10, but it's a good strong 9 out of 10, and it's fantastic. Yay, I love The Incredibles. So that's my review of The Incredibles. Tune in next time when I review another Pixar film, but until then folks, thank you all for watching. As always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya.